what kind of skills is required to get into that industry?
Is a 6,000 crore sports category.
You are trying to fit a physical world into a digital first world.
Welcome all of you, my dear panelists, Jatin, Nupur, Nimish. Welcome and thank you for being here.
Pleasure.
And dear audience, you are in for a treat today to have this phenomenal panelist with us today. The Indian sports industry has changed immensely over last couple of decades. While in the past it was about watching cricket on TV, playing few school sports, participating in few events, local events. That was all pretty much. That was what Indian sport was, and now it has changed dramatically to so many leagues across so many sports, access to global sports, so many marathons, so many amateur sports events, extraordinary school sports system, that has been built, esports. The list is growing. The sport is expanding. And this session today is trying to explore where this sport is expanding, where are the new opportunities, what does it mean for the people who are looking to get into sports industry, where are the new opportunities, what kind of skills is required to get into that industry. And for that, today we have Jatin, Nupur, and Nimish who are going to help us explore this area. Welcome again, and let's jump right into the session. Jatin, you talk about watching India moving from watching sport to playing sport. Help us decode this line. What is happening? What is changing? What is the change in the behavior in Indians? And where do you see this growing?
Jitu, let me just first say that it's always a pleasure to be associated with you. So when you asked me to be here, I think I took half a second to say yes. You yourself have been one of the pillars of the Indian sports marketing and business fraternity, and really proud to be your friend. You start off with a great question, and this question is one which we have the answers to. I always tell people that Indians have included sports in their lives now, and I think we have seen this. We have seen this post the pandemic. At least at KheloMore, we have seen this post the pandemic. I think the pandemic made people realize that there is a certain uncertainty and finiteness to your life. And if you get healthier and fitter and mentally healthier as well, then it will help you overall in many different things. And before the pandemic, we saw a lot of growth. I mean, don't mistake that it wasn't happening before. But there was a lot of gym-oriented growth which was happening. People were going to the gyms. But now I think what we are seeing is that the consumer behavior has changed, and sport is now a part of going out, Jitu. The way you go out for a movie or you go for dinner, communities are being formed on a daily basis. Friends are going out together and playing sport. And I think pickleball and paddle have been a huge kind of a lever for this to happen. The consumer behavior has changed tremendously, and what is also happening is that the growth of gated communities in India to live in, and also corporate parks, big corporate parks, gated communities. I know quite a few of the real estate guys, and they say that the second question in every pre-sales meeting is sports ke liye kya hai? So a lot of the urban Indian families, and also right down to tier 6, tier 7 town citizens are looking at sport as a means of health and wellness, and a community and a social feeling as well. So sports, community, and social is now very firmly intersecting, and that's great news for technology platforms like ours.
Fantastic. And, couldn't agree more. We are already seeing around us, we find people jogging, playing pickleball, wanting to make sure that they are into some sport, even if they don't enjoy running, and an individual sport like running or cycling or swimming, they are also figuring out a team sport to play with.
Yes.
Couldn't agree more there. Thank you for that. And, that observation, I think, will pave the way into next question to you, Jatin, again, and I'll come to Nupur next. Do you think the whole leagues and the professional sports and the recreational sports, now recreational sports is also adding to the overall weight of Indian sports growth?
Absolutely, and again, a great question. We always feel that grassroots sports is somebody taking their first steps into sport, right? And if you look at that, then that definite by our overall chain of thought over the last so many years, we feel grassroots sports is academies. That 4, 5, 6, 7, 8-year-olds learning a sport. But for me, yes, it is that. But grassroots sports is also 25 to 60-year-olds playing sport from a recreational perspective. That also is grassroots sports.
Or
And
amateur sports?
yes, or amateur sports. I think the right term has not been coined for it as yet, and some creative person will coin that term. I feel, but these are adults who want to play sport, who want to learn a sport. So, for example, at KheloMore, we do so many pickleball starter camps. We've done about 500 pickleball starter camps, and they are all age group 25 to 30 onwards. Where people want to learn the technique of a new sport, they want to learn the rules, they want to play a fun game. So I think this huge section of, you call it the amateur athlete, you call it the weekend warrior, you call them recreational athletes. This has always been overlooked in every survey that I've read, for example. And it is a massive populace. I would say it's at least 6 to 7 crores of Indians, maybe 10 crores of Indians playing this kind of recreational sport, giving a share of wallet, to play a sport, to buy equipment. I'm talking about the demand side. Now look at the supply side for a second. Look at how the sports brands have grown. Decathlon in India is now a 4,500 crore brand annually. Flipkart's sports category is a 6,000 crore sports category. Amazon's sports category in India is 10,000 crores. You have Skechers, who built a brand on walking, who are 3,500 crores. So you have Yonex, which has grown about 10 times in the last 4 or 5 years. So everywhere you go, you see that businesses are booming. So obviously somebody is buying all this product, right?
Absolutely.
So this is that huge chunk of the recreational athlete who is buying this product, and this athlete, she and him live in India, live in Bharat, live all across the place, and are buying a lot of product on the e-commerce platforms.
Absolutely. So this whole axis around recreational sport, grassroots sports is clearly a area which is seeing tremendous growth.
Yeah.
Thank you for that insight, Jatin. Nupur, coming to you. Nupur, you've been in an organization, Sports Village, which is focused on building, integrating sports as education, right? And working with schools so closely. And one of the largest organizations in the country when it comes to school sports. So now I want to know what changes you are seeing, when it comes to school sports, parent behavior, school behavior, even kids behavior. How are you seeing the whole thing? How is that expanding?
Sure. So, Ritu, firstly, again, thank you for having me in these last years. I've also had the privilege to work with you, learn from you. So, a lot of these insights will probably be from what I've drawn from you. And I'll answer your question now. On what changes I see in schools, parents, I think what Jatin said, right, that people ask कि sports के लिए क्या है in gated communities. Same question is coming in schools also, because the whole industry itself, there is demand going towards holistic education. and the national education policy coming in, the parents themselves demanding holistic education for a child. Education is no more now just about learning concepts. It's about preparing kids for life, giving them life skills. And in that sense, sports becomes very, very central because sports, and we all know this, I think this quorum itself is a sports passionate quorum. So I need not say this, but the words like resilience, teamwork, leadership, you learn these skills on the ground. And parents are realizing that schools, because the parents are realizing that schools have to answer for that, and therefore they are looking at easiest thing for them to do is to build something tangible. And in that sense, the infrastructure schools are focusing, we see schools focusing a lot on building the right sports infrastructure, giving kids access to multiple sports. Even we have spoken a lot. I've heard a lot of pickleball in the last 15 minutes that I've been on this call, but I've seen schools now build pickleball courts, which was very, very surprising for me. But of course, giving variety of sports access to the kids is paramount. We've not seen this in the past, but now schools, parents are demanding us the sports program, early specialization, not just cricket, but gymnastics, martial arts, archery, swimming. They want specialized programs, specialized curriculums for all these sports. Infra is paramount, holistic skills is paramount. So all of this is happening in the schools. Kids are the same. The kids wanted to play earlier also. They want to play now also. The more that they can get access to, the better. But early specialization is something that's coming in. Parents are forcing that. We don't see that as a great trend, honestly, but that's again coming in into the school side.
Excellent. And how about on the competition side of
Yeah,
schools?
yeah. You mean events, tournaments, and competitions?
Events,
Yeah.
tournaments, how is that growing? How is that shaping up?
I don't see too much shift there. There are lots of uh, so what is happening is there are specialized programs for each sport. So there is structured training going in, and of course, therefore there are lots of intra competition, intra school competitions. At the inter school level, there's still not a big competition. There are competition at the Khelo India level, but that's like the elitist level. At the middle or the bottom layer, then still not, I would say, established platforms that have made the commercial sense and have stuck over years. There's still not one inter-school platform that will stand out. Of course, SGFI and Khelo India from the government side are there. But CBSE clusters remain this main competition that people look forward to.
Yeah, some attempts around RFIS has tried to build that, and
Yeah,
Rishikesh has tried to build some platforms around that. So it's still there is a lot of opportunities there in terms
yeah.
of building. Uh, okay, Nimish, I hope you're there. If you can switch on the video. Excellent. Hi, Nimish. Nimish is one of the godfathers of esports. So in the country. So Nimish, for a lot of people, esports is still gaming. Okay. Now, if you can throw light on, it is not just gaming, on mobile and consoles, but it is a big business which is now going to become as big as traditional sports, I am told. If you can tell us something about that, our audience would love it.
Yeah, but say, thanks for having me here. I'm the odd man out, right? I mean, say everyone wants their kids to go out and play, and I'm saying sit on your mobile phone or sit in your PC and play games, which is also a sport. Uh, but yeah, I mean, say for many many years, I think esports was fighting for that legitimacy that it takes exactly the same amount of effort for me to learn a video game and have the same skill set to actually sit for an hour on a chair and have the same motor skills, whether it's soft or even physicality in terms of what needs to go behind playing a video game and actually winning championships and winning tournaments. So I think now that the government of India, Asian Games, a bunch of these different federations have recognized the power of esports and started including esports as a part of the tournaments. I think that conversation can definitely take a backseat, right? Uh, See, I think inherently esports has exactly the same fundamentals of any other sport, right? There is a particular game that's been played at a competitive level, and there is a very clear winner based on the skill set that you bring to the table. I think the only difference here is that you are basically enhancing those skills inside a simulated environment of a computer and not on a physical ground. But that does not mean your strategy is not the same. That does not mean that your abilities or your skill sets of understanding gameplay, most of the concepts of sport stay the same. The only beauty of esports is that I don't need infrastructure. I don't need to build pickleball grounds. I don't need a school ground or federation money. I can literally be at the comfort of my house and I can connect millions at a given second, and I can make them play at any time of the day, whether the weather is bad outside, whether it's hot, whether it's cold, whether it's raining, whether it's snow. None of that really matters, right? From a numbers perspective, I must say I'm actually on the way to the airport now. I'm flying to Saudi Arabia right now for a tournament that's called the Esports World Cup. Uh, the prize pool for that, I would say, yes, you're right. Sorry, 1 minute. Yes, you're right. The prize pool for that is $70 million, right? I mean, say you see the best of the people play cricket with the IPL going on right now, and the winning team takes home what, like $2 million, right? If you are a winner of the Esports World Cup, which was Team Falcons for the last 2 years, they take a share of the $70 million. Literally, they take $16 million home. So if I am a part of that team today and I'm one of the players, I am possibly taking home close to $1 million myself. That's where esports has already reached, right? From a money perspective. From a player base perspective, in India alone, we are looking at close to around 160 million players between BGMI and a game called Free Fire. Uh, I've been in many sports forums, and I was part of the sports industry for a long time myself, physical sport. Uh, and people claim that kabaddi is the second largest sport and football is the third largest sport or second largest sport. The second largest sport in this country after cricket is actually esports. There is nothing that comes closer to esports when it comes to the numbers. Uh, which other sport has 160 million players that play on a regular basis every single day for between 2 hours to 3 hours, uh, grinding, trying to become champions? Uh, so I think one of the things that the larger industry needs to recognize and appreciate and be honest about is that yes, there is a new entrance in the world of sport, which is competitive video games, and it has taken over the number two position already. And I won't be surprised if it will actually compete, maybe not compete, but actually complement the world of cricket eventually. And you already seen this. You already seen with the ICC tournaments, with the IPL tournaments, a lot of video game creators have been utilized to promote tournaments and promote the teams. You saw the collaboration between Krafton that runs BGMI with Kolkata Knight Riders and CSK. So yeah, that's how big video games are. Whether you like it or not, people old school don't like the fact that kids play video games. We all have children. I have a son who's 13, 14. He doesn't know who Virat Kohli is. He doesn't care about who Virat Kohli is. He probably cares about people like Faker. He cares about Scout. He cares about Jonathan Gaming. The next generation of sports people or sports fans are going to grow up with digital being the first world that they get exposed to. You know, the kid gets exposed to a mobile phone today much faster than a basketball ground or a football ground. He's going to start playing video games much before he can run a marathon, much before he can swim. So the next 30, 40 years, this sport is, if you believe that certain sports are growing at, I don't know, out of 10 at 7, this sport is going to grow at 99. And hence,
Wow,
it's
that's big
exciting and
statement,
scary.
Nimish.
It's, I mean, say the numbers are there. As I said, it's logical, right? If you have a 4-year-old today, what does your 4-year-old do? Does your 4-year-old go and play basketball? Does he go and play hockey? Does he go and play cricket? He can't. physically he'll take some time to evolve, but he will be on a mobile phone, whether you like it or not. He'll be doing something on a mobile phone. At 6 and 7, there are kids who play video games, both from a learning perspective and from an entertainment perspective. This sport is a digital first sport, which is the future of this world, whether you like it or not.
Wow. So Nimish, I think you said at least 10 times whether you like it or not, which means that there are people whom you face on a regular basis that is this a good thing or a bad thing? I'm not going to get into that. That is not the scope of today's discussion. But clearly, the opportunity that you're mentioning in terms of the number of participants, the users who are getting into it, the scale, the grandeur you're talking about is just mind-boggling. One question, one controversial type of question I'm going to ask Nupur. In your school system, if you see this kind of numbers and opportunities, would you take esports events or introducing them, whether esports wants you to introduce or not is a different matter? Would you, as one of the largest school network in sports, would you take esports competition to the schools?
So what we have tried,
You need to
Jitu,
be honest.
yeah,
No
yeah, yeah,
diplomatic answers.
yeah, yeah. What we have tried already, Jitu, is a combination of esports and physical, which active games. So there's a screen and you play physically around it. But esports in itself, we have not. We've stayed
Okay.
away from it. Still now, it has not come to us as a demand from the parents or the schools. In fact, when we have tried, we have got resistance from schools. But to honestly answer your question, if there is demand, if there are parents knocking on us, if the schools are knocking on us, then yes, I think we will take it.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, it's a very interesting thing. I'd just like to add to that. There
Yeah.
are there are very evolved markets already where esports is not just part of the outside school program; it's actually a part of the inside school program. As India evolves, as more and more, as the education sector itself evolves, right? You're gonna have different types of schools, right? Of course, you're gonna have your government schools, and you're gonna have your schools for the middle class, but you also have your ultra rich schools and the schools who have the computer labs and the schools who want your kids to know AI, the schools who want your kids to understand digital literacy, you know. So it also depends on how forward thinking you want to be at a school system as well. uh, I give an example. I've gone to my son's school multiple times, and as I said, I'm the odd man out, even at my kids' school. Trying to promote video games, and all the kids love me. The parents might not love me, but the kids love me because they all play video games, anyways. Uh, but when I met the teachers, the one thing I had to explain to them is that don't look at video games as only a competitive sport. Look at it in terms of how Nupur mentioned, right? The kind of stuff that you learn, whether it's teamwork, whether it's communication, whether it's digital literacy, understanding the internet world. When you start looking at esports from those angles, you realize that the ability for a kid to learn those skills, you know, versus a physical sport is much, much faster. It's much easier for me to explain. It's called gamification of learning, right? It's much easier for me to explain a kid to communicate with a counterpart when he's playing a video game versus me trying to explain to a kid how to communicate with you being a defender and a forward and a midfielder. It takes a lot more for them to understand those communication skills in a physical sport environment because it goes hand in hand with the skills versus here it's a digital first environment where it's much. And I can give you my personal example of my son. Like, my son used to be an introvert till he was maybe like 10, 11 years old. He didn't have any friends. He stood out as a sore thumb for being half white, half Indian in an Indian school environment. And I was genuinely worried about him because, hey, he was not really somebody who openly, spoke to people. And then he kind of started playing video games with me. And then through me, he got introduced to the world of video games, started talking to kids from different parts of the world. And in a matter of 2, 3 years, I have seen my son go from a complete introvert to somebody who's now has friends across at least 20 different countries. He
Nice.
communicates, he's trying to learn new languages. He's the first one to introduce me to any kind of new technology. His understanding of just the overall AI world, the 3D printing world, even music, like, the way they identify music, the way they identify trends. I think that's how you have to look at it. You have to look at it holistically, saying that
Nice.
you are trying to fit a physical world into a digital first world in every aspect of life. Uh, even on what Jatin said, in terms of the effort that has gone into making people play the sport. Remember, people always played sport. I remember I grew up in RBI quarters. My parents played for RBI. For There was different tournaments and different structures of competitive sport that always existed in this country. What has changed in the last 10 years or the last 5 years is that internet has bought everything in front of your eyes. The things that happened in isolated environments and isolated communities now suddenly has a voice. I am not playing pickleball or I'm not playing paddle. I am playing paddle, I'm playing pickleball, I'm taking that picture,
Yeah,
I'm putting it on Instagram, I'm letting
that is
20 of
helping
my
the growth.
other, yeah, I'm it's not just the growth, it's the validation. you know it's the validation that athlete never got before, right? After 40 years old, I mean, you've done the Ironman, I'm doing the Ironman right now. There is no reason for us to go and compete at the Ironman, right? Like, a lot of my friends at the age of 40 laugh at me saying, what is stupid, like, you're getting midlife crisis, you're trying to train for the Ironman. I've done 3 Hyroxes already. But we're also doing it. It's because it's easy to get that validation today. You remove the
Yeah,
internet, you remove the internet from there, you remove the communication angle of doing this. And how many of us will actually try to run the Ironman without us being able to take that picture at that podium and show it to the world that, hey, this is what I've achieved. So
yeah,
remember,
yeah,
even in the physical world and the popularity of the physical world, internet has played a big role. And when you have a sport that's at the center of the internet, you can't neglect it. You have
yeah,
to acknowledge it.
yeah. Okay, super. Jatin, yeah, you have built a phenomenal app which is bringing everybody together just for the benefit of our audience. What kind of roles, as you grow, as you are expanding this whole space, what kind of roles are there? What kind of opportunities students can expect, and what kind of skills might be required to get there?
uh, the day in a life of an entrepreneur is very, very interesting. I'll tell you how my day is flowing today. I'm in the office, and I was at the academy earlier. Then we had a couple of HR calls. We had a finance meeting. Now I'm doing this, and I'm seeing that the office is in a bit of a mess. So I'm going to vacuum it myself as well after this. So there are so many things that you have to do. But I think one important piece is to identify the opportunity properly, and identify how big that opportunity can be. But most importantly, what value will that opportunity drive for Indians? So when I was thinking of KheloMore, I was always thinking, and I still describe our business as an access to sports business. And it's really as simple as that. We feel that about 20 to 25 crore Indians want to play sport, and there isn't one unified access platform wherein you can find a venue to play on, or a coach to learn from, or a community to join. So KheloMore is going to be that platform which solves a very, very intrinsic active lifestyles need for Indians. So we don't really describe ourselves as a sports platform, but it's an access to active lifestyles. It's an access to better health. We are seeing IoT products like Whoop take the world by storm, and I think we just feel that the better that our app gets, the smoother it gets, the more optimized it gets. It will lead to a lot more consumer education, and that consumer education will really spike the participation numbers up. And I know for a fact that the government is also thinking along these lines. And one of my friends said that it's a very simple goal that the government is pursuing, and that goal is that if they keep promoting sports for the next 20, 30 years, their health budgets will go down essentially. So I think there's a huge opportunity. We are sitting at a very, very interesting point. But going back to your question, it's always think about what value you will provide to Indians.
Jatin,
And
Jatin, Jatin, I'm going to interrupt you here because one is the entrepreneurial opportunity. I
yeah,
think you are on something big already. My question is, if students are looking for employment in the space that you're expanding, and what is the kind of roles they can expect, and what are the skills that they would need?
absolutely. So everywhere you look at, there is an employment opportunity. Unfortunately, that is not being catered to by the current educational institutions. So let me start with the pay and play business, right? There are venue management opportunities. Let's look at the gated community piece. In gated communities, there are clubhouse manager opportunities, which currently are being sourced through the hospitality sector. You go one level up on the venues grid. There is a entire venue management and an operations opportunity there. There is huge opportunity because all today in the world, I don't think there will be any business in the world which is not a platform business. So when you look at a platform, so KheloMore is a platform. So there are huge product management opportunities there. There are huge, product marketing opportunities there. And today in the world of AI, I mean, we use Claude very, very vigorously. And even a normal student can learn Claude very quickly, and then can do a lot of work in product management as well. So I think product management, product marketing, supply side management, SaaS as a business. So I think if you are able to have a intersectional approach. So product manager basically is literally like the CEO of the company. He's looking at acquisition. He or she is looking at retention. They're looking at the analytics. They're looking at the consumers, talking to the consumers, looking at marketing as well. So I feel product management is the biggest opportunity of all, and that will never stop. There is always a dearth of good product managers. So I would encourage students to look at and to research more about product management. Go on to YouTube videos, find out who managed Facebook in the early days, who managed maybe even Dream 11, such a fantastic platform business they had, who used to manage that, and then you will realize that it's a role which you have to string together many different functions. So I think product
Nice.
management for me is really interesting because it's always got to do with technology, and when you're working with technology, then automatically your paths lead to a future ready kind of career. You know.
Fantastic. Interesting. Very interesting area. And I'm sure Nupur loved it because she's the
Head of
strategy
product.
and product head at Sports Village. Nupur, if you can, briefly tell the students actually, what are the various roles when you are working in the space of schools, grassroots sports, CSR, also
Yeah.
partly technology and the product space in this whole area which is growing phenomenally. What are the kind of roles and what should students look for?
Yeah, I think a lot of it Jatin already covered, but few things that I could add. I think the basic roles are not going to go away. I think the main roles in sports being an execution heavy industry, there will always be need for event managers. There will always be need for sales people, marketing people. Those are fundamental roles that are always going to be a plenty and keep growing. There are, of course, these new specialized roles that are coming in thanks to the new supply demand, which is together coming and making this industry boom from infrastructure and demand of people wanting to play, which Jatin highlighted, venue managers. There will be lots of qualified coaches that will be required. I know it is not seen as a great uh, career option today, but just like cult has made coaching more attractive, I think this is going to grow because uh, if I take my personal example in my own gated community, there are some 100 women, 30 plus, 40 plus, 50 plus, who are taking year-round coaching from some coaches outside. And before our annual
Some might be from
cricket
Jatin.
IPL, yes, and we use KheloMore a lot to book our grounds. But the point I wanted to make is we've spent, I think, in this just before the mini IPL that our gated community organizes, at least 8 lakhs together just to book turfs, just to book coaches. And on top of that, there's of course equipment, there's all the nutrition, everything that is happening beyond that. So your coaches, I feel, is going to be a big opportunity also. Of course, event managers and all that, product management. Thanks, Jatin, for making my job look so cool. I didn't know that earlier. But also on the data side, because to analyze while product helps bridge the gap between different functions and make the roadmap look clearer, but they also need a lot of data analysts in the background to work, churn all that, software engineers to make your whole product roadmaps come to life. So those job roles are also coming up. Um, what else? I think entrepreneurship remains as a important and interesting proposition. And what else I'm seeing beyond entrepreneurship today is also franchising. I think that's something that we don't speak about enough, because there are enough now branded companies that have come up with, which are giving out their own franchise. So you don't really have to start from zero. In an entrepreneurship, you're starting from, okay, what is the idea? How do I build my team? How do I make the product market fit happen? But with franchising, some of these things are already done, and you're taking a product which already has a product market fit. The systems are laid out, the processes are laid out. What you all have to do is go in, and of course it might mean investment, given assuming that you have a little bit of investment to go in initially. But franchising could also be an option, if which is a middle ground somewhere between entrepreneurship and jumping in as a job.
Fantastic. Jatin, you wanted to add something?
Yes, yes. Let's really get into this one now. Because like Nupur said.
Jatin,
Yeah.
I have 3 minutes only. Huh?
Okay. Very
You rolled up your sleeves. I said, "Ki abhi to."
No,
Sorry
no,
about that, but I have got time constraints. Sorry.
Please feel free to share my email address with the students if they want to get in touch. But Nupur
We
said,
will. Okay. Let's do this, Jatin.
yeah.
I will arrange for a special session with you on this aspect for sure. But you can complete your point.
Yeah. So very quickly, experience as a business opportunity. So think of it as a retail chain of sports outlets, of pickleball courts, of turfs, of coaching academies. So experience as a category is a great area for students to look at. So today, as part of KheloMore, we've dived into the full stack of cricket, Jitu. It's Ujwal's term, but we say that we are building the quota factory of cricket in India. So experience, coaching, infrastructure, massive opportunities, massive opportunities.
Superb. Nimish, if you can just quickly in a minute or two tell us, what are the opportunities for someone who is on the fence, considering career into sports management. Would you say hands down get into esports? That's the big thing happening.
I would say, if I have to be very honest with you, I think the intention of getting into sports needs to be something that
Nimish, your voice is cracking.
Can you hear me now?
Better. I mean, at least heard you.
Yeah. Is that when somebody wants to get into sports, I think the intention of the individual, why he wants to get into sport, needs to be extremely honest, right? Especially at the young age. A lot of people, and I've seen this in multiple industries, right, where at any given point, people keep changing industries, and it kind of becomes a trend. And sports is kind of like that wow factor, right? Where I mean, say a lot of us don't come from a sports background, right? Some of us are engineers, some of us, I know doctors who've got into the sports business way back in the early 2000s, right? But today, with the again with the exposure of digital and just the overall internet, uh, I think the intention of why somebody wants to get into sports is something that needs to be uh, answered by yourself in front of the mirror. It's, as a student, I'm talking about, right? Go stand in front of the mirror and honestly answer yourself, saying, "Why do I want to get into sports?" And if you believe that you want to get into sports to for the glamorous side of it, to make a lot of money, to have an easy life, to not want to go to an office 9 to 5, then you should not get into sport, because at the heart of it, sports is like any other business. You'll have to put the hard work, you'll have to put in the hours. Sometimes you'll have to work from 9 to 9 in the night, work on the weekends. So that's part number one, right? Part number two is like any other job hunt. It's a wild world, right? So it's basically it's every man and every woman for himself or herself, which means there is no real mechanism of you to find a job or get the job. It's the hard work that you put in. It's the effort that you put in, right? It's, do I get in touch with 20,000 people and get rejected by 19,999 and still have the courage to wake up the next day and again try and get hold of somebody, right? So it's the effort that you put in, and it's that grind that you're willing to do, which doesn't change in any aspect of life, whether it's sports job, whether it's a non-sporting job, it stays the same. So there is no magic formula to get into sport. It's exactly the same like building a career anywhere else. The upside is that if you are lucky and if your hard work actually shows, sometimes you also get to enjoy while you're working, which is true. I mean, say Jatin had his fun when he was a cricketer, when he was with Nike. I've had my fun when I was with Red Bull, with Star Sports. You had your fun working with some of the biggest clients. Nupur's done a fabulous job with some of the clients. Of course, there is fun, but there are also painful days where we know for a fact that we don't know what the next growth pattern is going to come from, how we're going to answer to investors. It's the same everywhere. And esports is exactly the same like any other sport. Build in the skill, be honest to yourself, and you will get the right job.
Perfect. Thank you. That's very, very real answer, Nimish. Great. Thank you. Thank you. It was so insightful. I'm sure our audiences, our students loved it, and take away that there is so many bigger opportunities beyond traditionally what we see. There is so much space in sports that is expanding and that is creating a lot more opportunities to get into. Thank you very much, Nupur, Nimish, and Jatin for very, very insightful session. Absolutely enjoyed the session, and I'm sure students gained a lot from this session.